making with 3D printing and running a business are just two separate things. All these people that are now makers have now become business people. They're just different skill sets, and you need to work on each of those skill sets separately. If you guys aren't aware, 3D Printing Gear is a multi-million dollar company selling a lot of 3D printers and filament. We're growing quite rapidly because the industry is going boom. The technology is absolutely amazing. So what we're going to cover today is these 5 topics. The business audit. So we're going to basically look at like who we are, the kind of foundation of the business is, and really that starts with the customers and the problems that we're going to be solving. Then we're going to look at slicing. So this is of course the step between design and the actual print, but is a really, really key lever in actually running the business. And I will explain why that is in a business course, because it seems very techy, but it needs to actually be in here. And same with design. So design is in here because it's like, again, it's the key lever that actually helps us create a value offer or something that is valuable to other people. And that's why that's in there. So the next step is workflow optimization. So really the takeaway, I'll just give you like the takeaway with this section is I want you to think in terms of systems. And that is like whenever you do something in your business, it's like trying to think like, how can this scale? How can we make it more efficient? How can we make it blah, blah, blah? Like I'll go through like more steps here. And then number 5 is marketing, sales, pricing, and profit. I always had like a little kind of like marketing, like ads, but I've gotten over that. So when I first started, my businesses, like I kind of saw this as very selly, like you're trying to make people buy stuff they don't want or whatever. And I've gotten over that, thankfully, because people actually want what you have to offer. Not everyone's going to go out and buy a 3D printer and make what you make for them. They're just not. And even if something costs you 20, 30 cents to produce, 20, 30 cents plus 10 years of experience, plus the machines, plus, you're paying all these other expenses, you should be pricing, accordingly. So I'll cover some pricing strategies and some different marketing and sales kind of stuff, and then how we actually calculate profit. So this is the rundown. If you've got any questions at any time, chuck them in the chat. I've got the chat up here now, so I won't miss it like I did last week. So here we go. So we're going to jump in. First is the business audit. So you need to really understand, like in a lot of detail, a few different people in this kind of field. So first is, who are you? So like if I could give an example, right? Me, I'm a mechanical engineer. I love teaching, and a passion of mine is creating things that haven't been made before. And usually that's in the world of 3D printing. So I absolutely love these things. That's what motivates me. That's what drives me. And those are the areas where I have the most knowledge in. So what do I mean by that? I have a internal motivation, whatever it is, that just makes me like look out for 3D printing news and like understand how 3D printing works and like who does what in the field. And I just love that kind of information, right? So those are the things that I end up focusing my attention on in the world. So then those are the kind of people and problems that I could start to solve for. Okay. So hopefully that gives you an idea, is like when you're trying to think of like, hey, what should I sell or what should I do? You actually should not look outwards, like as in what product am I trying to find? Like, let me go and grab a product. That's like you looking outwards and reaching outwards. You need to actually look inwards first. So who are you? Firstly, what you enjoy. And like you hear this a lot, like, oh, just do something that you love. It's like, no, you need to love it and you need to actually have a knowledge in it, or like be willing to like learn that, right? So look inwards first. And then once you do that, you can start to look outwards. And this is where you look at problems that you're solving. We've got a lot of people in the community actually, and we had a question just before about car parts, right? So what problems are you solving? Now, if you are a person that knows the car industry, then you can really easily start to list problems that people in the car industry have, because you're in the car industry. You already have those problems and you're kind of your own customer in that sense. So what problems are you solving? That is the next thing. So after you've looked inwards, you can look outwards. And why? Notice how I haven't actually brought up a product yet. We looked inwards at ourselves, then we look outwards at the problem, okay? And then you try and understand your ideal customer. So if the problem is something car specific, then maybe I need to start making like an idea around who that ideal customer is. So if it's something with high performance vehicles, so I've got some friends that do 3D printing in with metals. So they've actually got quite professional, like big businesses with investors and stuff like that. They've got these metal 3D printing machines. They run that out of Geelong. So they've got like a whole bunch of them, and they produce like all these heat exchangers. So without getting too technical, heat exchanger basically mixes two fluids, and one will usually cool down. You're trying to cool down something, because when you're running high performance cars, you need to cool down certain things, right? So just leave it at that. Their ideal customer is totally different to, say, my ideal customer with my business, Ari Nalo. My ideal customer is a consumer. This other, my friend that runs this company, he's targeting big companies that pour a lot of money into performance vehicles or into whatever it is where they need heat exchange. So once you understand the problem that you're trying to solve, then you have to create an idea about who that customer is. And you need to understand them in like quite a lot of detail. It needs to be everything from like, how much money do you think they're willing to spend on this kind of stuff? Like, how painful is the problem? How quickly do they want this problem solved? Their behavior. So like when I was selling glass 3D printers, like we would sell to organizations mainly. And sometimes those organizations were educational institutes, so like universities. Their behaviors are different to a business because they needed to go through a certain purchasing procedure. So there were certain steps that they needed to do there that was different to another customer. So whoever it is, you just need to understand their way of thinking and how they behave and all that sort of stuff. Then, and only then, you look at what is your key offer, right? So most people are like, what should I sell? They're starting with the offer. That is like so wrong. Yes, you can just like go and sorry, I shouldn't say wrong. Yes, you can just go and go, here's a product, let me sell it. And if it's a proven product and you sell it, you're probably going to make sales, right? Because people want it. But if you go through this kind of strategy, then firstly, you can create more value and you to that customer, and you understand who they are. So when you go on market, when you go I don't know, if you're going to sell at events or whatever it is, do something different, then you got a better idea of actually what you're trying to do, what you're trying to sell. Because it all comes back to the customer. That's why they're first, and what problem you're solving for them. And once we understand those things, then we create an offer. So just quickly on that, your offers can be you can be really creative here. Like, it doesn't have to be I sell like a product and that's it. Like, you could do subscriptions, you could do services, there's a whole bunch of different things. Actually, I've got another slide on that, so I'll leave that for now. All right. Like I said, any questions, chuck them in the chat. Okay. Next is we're looking at the financials, and there's two basic ways I would look at this. Like, I'm not a finance guy. I actually studied a little bit of finance in university and occupational therapy, but I left those for engineering, found my calling. But financials for the product is, say, things like the average order value. So how much do we actually sell this product for? So we've got a lot of people in this community that are starting businesses, and there's a few in particular that come to mind that they're trying to scale with ads, right? So they're like, oh, I've got this cool product and I sell it, blah, blah, blah. I just want to rev the engine harder and sell with ads. If you sell with ads, you will automatically get another cost, which is cost to acquire a customer. And some of these people that come to mind, it's not a bad thing. It's just is what it is, right? You got to look at the numbers. Is that the average order of someone that would pay to actually buy something might be $20, $30. So they'll make an order and they'll buy something for say $30, right? On average. But your cost to actually acquire that customer through ads, you'll be doing really well, usually for the e-commerce space, like products that are around this price point. And it would be different for different industries, but you'd be doing really well if it was around $20. So if your average order value is around $20 or $30, and then you're paying $20 to get customers, you can't create that engine that people want to really grow their business there. So this is why you need to understand average order value, and you want to be maximizing that as much as we can. Cost to produce is obviously the other one. Now, there's a few different things that we can do there. In the last section, I'll show you how all the expenses you need to take into account and how to calculate profit. But once you have these two things, then you look at your gross profit margin. So take away from this slide, right? Just calculate your gross profit margin, which is just what percentage of profit do you get when you sell a product? So just the direct cost of your product, not like the bigger cost of your business, like insurance won't go in here, your website stuff won't go in here, all that other stuff, right? So yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more after. The next thing is financials of the business. So really, really basic here, right? Looking at like what revenue this could be a goal if you're starting a business, or like perhaps like you've already started it. So what revenue have we got and what the profit margin of the actual entire business is. And then like a big one here is like looking at our like top 3 costs. So I know for Arinale right now, probably spending a little bit too much on ads. So the next strategy I go to is, okay, like how can I convert those people that are brought in from ads to maybe refer their family and friends to our business? Because we sell to a lot of mums that have just had babies. Like I think a referral program would be really good because usually they're going to like those parent groups and stuff. So that just understanding these 3 basic things, right, can help you form strategies. But the key, like if you're starting off, is just to calculate it. Maybe once a month, you just grab all your revenue together, grab all your expenses together. All right, the difference is the profit. And then you figure out your profit margin. Yeah. Okay. And then the biggest constraint today. So this is one that we usually ask businesses, especially when because we do consultation as well. But we ask businesses, what is the biggest thing that's holding you back from your goals today? Because you really need to try and understand what's stopping you from getting to that next stage. I mean, especially when businesses come to us and they're like, hey, like we're doing this, blah, blah, blah. We want to grow the business. So it's like, well, why do you need us? Like what is stopping you from just doing that yourself? So you always need to understand that next hurdle that you're trying to like come over. And this is like, if you use a sports analogy, like I play a lot of tennis, right? So, well, I used to, and then I had 2 kids. Anyway, give me advice if there's a way to play sport after kids. But so yeah, basically you need to always understand, when I was playing tennis, I need to always understand, hey, this is my next goal. Like, this is the thing that I'm working on. Oh, my backhand cross court needs to be more solid. Like, I'm missing too many balls there. Like, with business, it's the same, right? You need a mindset that allows you to improve. And the way that our brains work is with like error correction. We need like a goal. And that's why the next one is goals. So you need to give yourself these goals and like understand what those constraints are to like help break through them. Because if you don't like label them and name them, then or record anything about them, then you're just going to be hoping that they kind of solve themselves. And usually they don't. You need to actually put in the time and effort for it. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It might just be 1 or 2 things a month that you kind of focus on and go, okay, this is my next thing that I'm going to work on. Next is slicing. Any questions on the business audit? Just chuck them in, but we'll jump into slicing now. So why are you slicing in this business course? Isn't that a technical skill? Yes, it is a technical skill, but it needs to be in here because it is really important. How you slice is directly affecting like your print time, your material usage, and those directly affect your costs and then your profit, your bottom line. Your profit is actually what keeps your business alive. So if you don't have profit, you're either self-funding your business, but I would not call it a business at that stage. I would call it a hobby. So it's fine. I'm not saying a hobby is bad. Like, hobbies are great, right? Like, it's just if you're trying to make this a business and go from a side hustle to your main hustle, then we need to optimize a lot of things and make sure that we're keeping as much profit as we can. And slicing is that key lever. Now, the other part of it is slicing and also printing in general. So maybe I should rename this to slicing or printing. It can be done a lot of different ways. You can manufacture your product a lot of different ways with 3D printing, right? So the quality gets affected, right? Or the strength of the part gets affected. Like, so yeah, making sure that we get this right is really important. So you need to do a few things. You need to optimize your filament settings, and that comes with a temperature tower. You need to do flow rate calibration. You need to do dynamic flow calibration, which is when the print is changing direction, it needs to adjust for those changes in direction. And then retraction, usually not needed as much, but in certain, and especially for like higher performing parts. So like with some of our clients that use carbon fiber reinforced plastics, they need to work on their retraction, or they have to optimize their retraction settings because they're trying to fill an entire build plate full of a high performing part, and it will take 30, 60 hours to print or something like that. And the more starting and stopping you have, the more likely that you're going to have this like flow rate instability for 3D printing. So they need to do that to allow their business to actually make more parts and to make them more efficiently. So hopefully you're starting to see the idea. Like if you do a few of these things, then slicing and printing won't be a problem. And that's really good for the business. So like it's a 3D printing business, right? You kind of don't get the luxury of just going, hey, I sold like all these extra units and now I can just ask my manufacturer to like give me more. Like you are the manufacturer. And that's kind of the funny part with 3D printing is like in traditional business, I don't know, traditional business is a weird term to use, but generally you would buy from someone, import a product or something like that and then on-sell that. And all you have to do when you sell more units is ask for more units from your supplier. We actually have to produce it. And that's why slicing is in this one. And then optimizing your slicing settings. Like how many people here just use the standard settings? Like hopefully we're starting to like change some settings to like actually create the right output for what we're trying to get. And what I'm talking about here is what type of parts do you print? Are they multicolor? Because multicolor parts might need different settings to strong parts. Are they really big? And if we're using a large nozzle, could we reduce the print time? Like we've worked with a few businesses, even if they're just printing like say 15, 20 centimeter tall parts, but they're printing like a lot of them. If they're using a 0.4 millimeter nozzle compared to a 0.6 millimeter nozzle, it's just a huge saving that you get, right? There's some simple changes that you can do, even just by changing your layer height to affect how long your part takes. So large parts will need different to small and detailed parts. So small and detailed, you can use a 0.2 millimeter nozzle. And there are different settings that you can activate to allow more detailed and intricate parts to be made. And then single contour, so you might be printing in vase mode. So hopefully some of you guys have seen this, but this is where you can just print the outer shell of your object and the printer will spiralize around. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do there because you can make your single contour prints or your vase mode prints quite thick. And that allows you to, and like with like geometry changes, you can do some like really cool things. So in the recording, so I don't have an image of it now, but I'll try and add a few examples of that. But you can actually make single contour prints that are quite strong. If you make the geometry kind of curl back on itself, you can add a lot of rigidity. So we did it with our glass printer when I was doing that. And then do they use support? So optimizing support settings, you might need to do some testing here. So all these different parts will need different settings to optimize. Okay, so you can optimize the hardware and the technology too. So I talked about nozzle size and even the printer type. So there's actually a few people that come to mind here in the community. We've got one in particular that prints parts that they need to be strong, but they're quite small. They're using FDM, so polymer printing right now. I think it's with PETG or something like that. But they could easily print with a resin machine. So resin machines, different technology, same idea, we're still 3D printing, but the parts that we can produce, firstly, if I got like a really big bed for my resin printer, I could print like 100 of these parts in like 20 minutes. Like they're quite small. So yes, I would have to outlay, I don't know, 10 or so grand to buy this setup. But then I've got this thing that just, it creates really high quality parts and really, really quickly. Yeah. So it can completely change like, your business approach. So just staying open to like optimizing hardware decisions is important. And that's why I think like talking to different people and being in the community is really important because like even for me, like I've been doing this for like 3D printing for like over, coming up to 15 years now. Right. So I still ask the guys at 3D Printing Gear all these questions, like when I have issues, like, because it's good to get other people's perspective here and other people will tell you about different hardware, different software, different tools, and different materials. So yeah, we have some people in the community that print vases, so planters and stuff like that. And if they're using regular materials versus high speed materials, they can get a lot quicker results with high speed. So yeah, just thinking about like different optimizations we can do with that. It's like a simple thing. It's like, I'm going to buy the white filament, but it's high speed instead of normal. So I can print it 30% faster. 30% faster, if I've got 10 machines, it's like I've bought 3 more machines. Do you understand? But I didn't buy 3 more machines. I just paid for a different filament. That advice alone, like, it's just, you can save yourself a lot of money there, right? And like 3 machines needs more space as well. So like this kind of thinking compounds, right, long term. So what's the procedure here? Like I've talked about slicing optimization. The procedure is you establish a baseline. So in Bamboo Studio, you need to slice something and look at the print time and the amount of material used and therefore the cost, right? Then you make a change to your settings and you analyze that change, like, okay, and it could be a hardware change too. Or even I might print this with resin instead. And then you just basically reevaluate, like you compare those 2 options. Okay, did that change lower the print time? Did it lower the cost? By how much? Is it worth it? And then you just do that over and over again. So it's really simple. You know, everyone could do this right now. Like, hey, I'm printing this big part. Let me just go and change my nozzle diameter to 0.6 millimeters. And I can keep the layer height slightly higher. Maybe it's 0.3 instead of 0.2. And like, you'll see, like, oh, I'm going to save like 30% on my print time. That might be good for a lot of people, right? Printing bigger parts. All right. And then thank me later. Let me know how you go actually with this. If you get some like huge savings, like, oh, Tony, I saved like, and we've done this with a lot of businesses. If you save like 50% print time, changed a few settings for, I remember these kind of figurines that this business was printing. And we just went through some basic stuff and changed some of the infill percentages. And it wasn't the percentage, actually the type. So we used supportive cubic instead of grid. And they were able to save, I think it was like 40 something percent print time. And then we changed, there was multicolor too. So we changed the flushing volume multiplier instead of a 1 just being 0.7. So it flushes 30% less. And they saved like just over 50% print time, and the material cost halved as well. Yeah, seriously, you can, your hobby or business will benefit from that, right? You have more money to print other things or to buy more machines or whatever you want to do. Woo! Okay, design. Let's do it. What time is it? Okay. Why is design in Business 101? Well, it's literally how you create your value offer, okay? The way you design, or what your ability to design or source designs, because you can outsource them, is how you create value. At first, you need to understand your customer. You can't just put a website or put some Etsy listings and go and just like pump out products. Of course, like the exception is if you see a product that is doing really well and you know that people like are demanding that, and it's highly sourced, then yes, you could just go and copy products. But for everyone else, if you've got like a specific niche or idea that you're selling to, you need to understand your customer. And then how do you create your designs that solve their problems? Okay. So design is super important, because if we're relying on other people's designs, then firstly, you kind of, you're competing somewhat with them. That's not a bad thing. The market's big enough for everyone to even sell the same product. Even if everyone here sold the exact same product, I think you would still have enough room. The market's enormous. You don't have to worry about competition too much. But why should you really focus on learning design? Well, in my opinion, if you can actually design products, you can better tailor those solutions to the customers. And then if you can design your products, you can better design them for 3D printing. So you get better reliability, lower cost, higher quality for whatever the outcome is. Like if it's for multicolor part, you'll have cleaner finishes. If it's for strong parts, you'll have stronger parts. So you can design for manufacturing, for the 3D printing process. So because what I end up seeing is like, there's 2 ways that people kind of approach this topic of design to make things. Firstly, they'll go, I'm going to design and hope. And what I mean by that is you design something and then hope that it 3D prints right. Or you design for manufacturing. So this is the common acronym DFM, design for manufacturing. And in this case, it would be designed for additive manufacturing. So sometimes you see a little A put in there for the word additive. So the way that I would encourage everyone to think is design for manufacturing, right, for 3D printing. And there's a few things that we can, like rules of thumb that we use here. I'm just going to list a few of them here. Okay. So in general, flat base. Wow, Tony, amazing. I'm so glad I joined to tell me that could be a flat base. You don't actually need a flat base for 3D printing. You can print parts that have like a corner that like touch onto the bed, and you use like support and brims and stuff. In general, flat base is going to be good especially for printers that move the base. Yeah. Because then there's more like movement of your part. Whereas if you've got like printers that move the nozzle only and the bed just moves down or up or whatever, then the flat base is not as required. Yeah. So keep your overhangs to a limit, obviously 45 degrees. Otherwise, we'll have to start using support material and we're going to have like some instability. That will help you limit support material required. And then minimum thickness and detail. So does anyone here not print with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle? Give me a thumbs up if you do. Yeah. Oh, Joe, you got a thumb. Awesome. That's so cool.
2.6 for
Yeah,
certain
great.
things.
Amazing. So you've literally gone just one step down and then one step up from the default, which gives you like honestly so much range. It sounds like a small change. Like, oh, I'm like 0.2 and 0.4. It's only 0.2. Like, how much of a difference could that make? But if you calculate the area, it's actually huge, right? It's like over 50% difference, right? So
4 times longer to print
yeah,
the same thing with a 0.2.
yeah, 4 times longer. There you go. But the detail that you get is insane. So, and usually we're going to print smaller parts anyway, so that's fine. So minimum thickness is usually a result of your, oh, that looks cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah, minimum thickness is going to be dependent on our nozzle, and the details are going to be dependent on the nozzle, the kind of hardware, even the ambient temperature of like where you print. So if you're printing on like a 40-degree day, the material is going to take a lot longer to cool. And this is where your slicing optimization comes in. This is why you need your slicing to be optimized as well. And then parts lying down, like so with lower Z height, are also going to print a lot faster. So I'm really like fortunate a lot. I don't know if it's fortune or just because I designed it this way, but the parts that we make for Arianala and the products that we produce, I've made them all with low layer heights for Z heights. So I think now I'm printing, I've like really optimized like a lot of my process for Arianala, but like with 5 machines and like say 2 half days of printing, like I can maintain like about $1,000 worth of orders like per week. So, you know, for the month, it's like the return's good in terms of like time invested. Whereas like if you're printing really tall parts, then you're going to be spending a lot longer on those prints, a lot more money, of course, on those. And sometimes you need to print large parts, but it's just optimizing it so we're not like printing like unnecessary like parts of it. If there's support material in there, maybe we can design the support material in so it's not printing like from the base all the way to the top, or we can change the orientation. So we can design it with a flat edge on the side so we can like tilt it down so it's like lying down. And this also helps, you know, when you know how to design, because you can make parts that are stronger because you can create more strength with parts that are lying down because you have a bigger layer like that's encompassing the whole part. Which is which is my last point there. There's so many other rules of thumb that you can add in here. Those are just some of them. Right, and then design software types. So parametric design. So we're going to be thinking things for like geometric kind of parts, like Onshape, Fusion 360 are great softwares here. We're looking at mesh and sculpting. So Blender, ZBrush, some softwares that basically have a digital ball of clay that you manipulate. You have libraries, so you can download files. You can design parts in your slicing software. This is probably the one that I wanted to touch on a little bit more here, because I think a lot of people here would benefit from using more design in the slicer, especially for like custom parts or parts that are configurable. For basic shapes, you can create like negative volumes in the slicer, or you can add text, or you can add SVG files that help you add imagery or emboss imagery onto the, or logos or whatever it is, onto the part itself. So you might have a part that is customizable, and you might go through the whole design process every time to make that part with, say, a company's logo on it or something like that. Or you make the base part and then put it in the slicer, and the logo is an SVG file that you can swap in and out. Does that make sense? Like that. So I've done this with a few of our products, and a lot of these optimizations save me at least 4 or 5 minutes per part, right? Oh, that doesn't sound like that long. Let me just do it the old way. Yeah, but if you just fix it now, when you do 100 of these parts, I've just saved you 100 of these parts, 5 minutes, 500 minutes. Do you want that time back? Yes, it should always be yes, right? Just spend the 20 minutes now to set it up, and then you'll save that 500 minutes. That's the cost benefit, right? So just do it, okay, please, and then thank me later. And then direct G code. This is it's used less often. This is usually used by people that want to spend a lot more time on the actual printing. But the output of a slicer is G code. that's code. So you can code that directly. So you can actually say, hey, the printer, do this exactly. There's no design. I'm just telling you where to go, how much material to push down. We did that a lot with the glass printer because starting and stopping wasn't as optimal with that. So we would often like do tricks with the G code to like help it do what we wanted. So like instead of like starting and stopping, we would tell it, no, keep going, do this loop. And it would be a complicated part, but it would never stop printing. So like we could do stuff like that as well. But like thicker, chunkier nozzles, this is like really cool, especially if you're doing like vases and stuff like that, because you can make strong parts because those loops will interloop on themselves. And yeah, you can also create parts that you just won't be able to make because the slicer won't let you. Yeah, when I post this recording, I'll try and put like a little video from the glass printing that we did. We worked with these architects slash glass blowers in America, and they used this method with our glass printer to print like all these like big glass loops that connected to the main body of this like vase. I'll see if I can dig it up and find it. But yeah, you can do some different things here because otherwise the slicer forces you to do horizontal layers. Whereas when you code directly in G code, you can do non-horizontal layers. You can like do weird things with it basically. And then outsourcing, really big one. You can jump onto like say Upworks or Fiverr or something like that, find a designer, or even just post in the community here. Hey, I'm trying to design this. I just can't be bothered doing it, or this is what I want. How much to design this, right? And then AI, huge emerging field here. So there's a free course in the community, a free tech course that I go through some of the AI tools. Here, I think to unlock it, you got to just get to level 2, which means you just got to like post once or twice and have like 2 or 3 likes on a comment or something like that. And that's it. So yeah, you can get access to that if you want to like see more there. And then hybrid. So obviously, actually, this is a really big point. So the more of these workflows you know, the more interconnected cool stuff you can do, honestly. So I know parametric design because I'm a mechanical engineer. So I studied SolidWorks, but I know how to use Onshape and like Fusion 360 and stuff like that. Mesh sculpting, now with my business, I've like learned Blender, so I can do mesh sculpting. Libraries, obviously, Maker World printables. Yes, that's easy to download. Everyone should pretty much know how to do that. Slicing stuff. Yes, I've added negative volumes, SVGs, text, modifiers to my slicer. Direct G code, I've done some of that. It's not my strength. Outsourcing, done that. We've definitely worked with other people in design. It's always good to do that. AI, that is seriously, I lose sleep over this. Like I'm staying up to like play with these tools because it's like so awesome. So I know like a lot of these, right? Which means that when I want to design something, I can already think of like a few workflows to do it, right? You need to learn as many of these as possible if you want to kind of have that feeling of like, hey, I can like make anything. I'm not saying go and learn like everything, right? I'm also not saying not to do that. This is kind of like adding tools to your tool belt. Does that make sense? The more tools you have, the more cool things you can do, right? Okay. And then workflow optimization. So what is work? Let's define what is work, right? You take inputs, you do something with it, which is the work, and then you give outputs for that, okay? That is what work is. Whatever you do, in general, this is what happens. Something will trigger you. Oh, I've got an order come in off the website. Then you have to do something. I've got to go and make that, or I've got to go and pick it from the stock or whatever it is. And then you got to give an output. And that might be like, send out to the customer and the customer's happy or whatever. So if that is work, then what is workflow optimization? So you do the work faster. So when you optimize, you're trying to make it so you can do the work faster, more reliably, or at less cost, or a higher quality. Okay. That is what optimization is. Faster, more reliable, less cost, high quality. These are the 4 questions that you can ask yourself when you're doing work. So I'll give you an example. Like for Arinalo, we create a lot of these rainbows here. So if you can see my screen here at the bottom here, here's a rainbow. This one's a lion version of it. There's like 4 arches here and there's text on each one. And what we have to do is those are all custom pieces. So we design them, we print them, and we always want to figure out how we can do it faster. One of the tasks we do is the design. So how do we do that faster? It used to take me around 8 minutes to get one of these set up for printing. And then it would take another 3 or 4 minutes to queue it for printing. So like 12 to 15 minutes usually. And like that's if you did it perfectly. So, it took a bit of time. now then I put template files. I use AI to like help automate. So when I get the order, I can I've got a custom dashboard that I've created with AI that can help me design the files. So it's like, okay, I just click the button, it grabs the template file automatically for me, puts it in a folder with the name of the order and the customer's name. And then the next bit I'll get it to do is to actually add the text in automatically. So I've already brought it down to like 3 or 4 minutes, right? A third of like what it took me initially. So that's way faster. It's more reliable because I don't have to copy them manually. It's done automatically. And then it's less cost. So this is when I'm slicing, I actually have changed my settings to like bring down that cost. Like I think it's by about 35%. I was able to bring it down from standard settings, right? And I'm able to even print it faster as well. And then higher quality is really with the slicing optimization that we do there. So you can see here that if you don't know design, if you don't know slicing optimization, you can't do this workflow optimization. And that is the really important part of business. That's why slicing and designing are in this business course. Like you need those skills. So what am I trying to like show you here? I just gave you one example of workflow optimization, but you can do this with the whole business, right? With anything that you do in the business. So you got to think in terms of systems. So whenever I do something or when I set something up, it's like if this is a new product or if this is a new like procedure that I'm going to do, like say I'm packaging something, I need to think in terms of a system. How can I make that system as optimal as possible? So why optimize? Well, if you guys know the McDonald's example, like they were able to basically put, they're able to put like any 15-year-old into like a McDonald's and they'll produce like the same output like every time. That's because their system is like really streamlined and like effective and efficient. So if you use that kind of thinking in your business, then you can just optimize and make sure that you do things faster, less cost, more reliably, high quality. And that over and over again, hundreds of times when you make those decisions is just going to add up to a lot of wins. This doesn't have to be an AI solution like I was talking to you about before. It doesn't even have to be slicing solution. It could just be clean up your workshop so you don't have to walk over things when you go and print stuff. But we work with a lot of businesses and we've seen like, hey, just like grab your camera and like show me your workshop. It's like, see those things like that are in your way there, move them out of the way, like push them to a clean up, right? So you want things to like move in a really smooth way. And if you think that way and make those decisions over and over again, you'll just have more time to do the things that you actually enjoy doing, not the actual like printing or troubleshooting and stuff like that. How do you optimize? So you can, what I would do and what I do with businesses is you got to map out the workflow. So just write down everything you do step by step for like a task. So it could be every step that I take when I get an order of this until I deliver it out. Then ask yourself, how can I do it faster, more reliably, less cost and high quality? You literally just ask the question. It's not complicated. And then test and evaluate. So if you make a change, then you test how much quicker was it. So I might time myself, like how long does it take me to like get this part up and going? Like for example, like if you got a product that you sell over and over again and you slice it over and over again, why don't you just save the G code and then send it to the printer when you need to? That would save you opening the file, reslicing it, checking all the settings. That's at least 4 or 5 minutes, right? So why not just save the G code and do that? And then you go, oh, instead of 4 or 5 minutes, it takes me 1 minute to literally open the G code and send it. And then one step further, what if I use a farm management software that can save the G code and I don't even have to reopen the G code? I can just go, yeah, here's the code that I want and I'm going to send it to this printer. Then it will take 20, 30 seconds. So I'm going from 5 minutes to 20 seconds. I'm doing that with everything in my business. I'm going to save a lot of time. All right. And then what do you optimize? Like literally it could be anything. So where do you like start? Physical workspace, you could go your design process as well. These are common kind of things, slicing process. So like I was just talking about before, the actual printing process. So making it streamlined for the actual printing, like having the printers at the right height, having it so when I like take support material off, I've got like a set place where I do that. Like these are the kind of things that we talk about: storage and inventory of filament, maintenance and failure management. So when I have a problem with a printer, like just logging it, simply just like logging it and then just understanding where I'm like having like leaks in my system so I can like fix them. And then if you want to go like really deep, contingencies, so plan for unexpected events. Like what if you got what if your machine breaks, or what if you get like 10 times the amount of orders that you get currently? What if one of your posts go viral and you just like get like 10 times the orders that you have now? What are you going to do? So just plan for a few things like that. But then the main thing that you probably should work on now is like, don't just, that's quite an overwhelming list. There's like a lot that you could do. Just pick one thing because you have limited time and you need to prioritize where you put that time. So how do you know what to prioritize? So you got to identify the problem opportunity, calculate the cost, and then find the solution, and then calculate the new cost, right? So just pick that one or two things that you'll get the biggest cost saving or time saving, right? You don't have to like solve everything. You can actually probably, with this framework of thinking, just take off the top 2 or 3 biggest time absorbers of your time or cost expenses, and then you'll be getting like most of the benefit there. So you don't have to do everything in the business to begin with. Just do 1 or 2 things, the most important ones. Yeah. I'm going to skip over this because we're running out of time, but KPIs is another cool way of switching on this like mentality. So actually, I'll quickly tell the Tiger Woods example. Tiger Woods, great golfer, obviously. What he did is just have like a few KPIs, so key metrics that he would focus on and go, these are the ones that I need to do well. Now, I'm not a golfer. I don't know exactly what they were. There's only like 4 or 5 of them that he would try and do. So when the opportunity came and he had, this shot is going to affect this KPI, like he would dial in, right? And like that's what he would practice on. And he would just focus on those KPIs. So it kind of gamifies things a little bit as well. So for a business, like looking at, it could just be revenue, right? Profit's probably the better one here. Orders sent on time, sending them out the next day or quickly. Print success rate could be another one. And then, new products released, new stores contacted if you're like trying to do wholesale. Like wherever you are in your journey, like just try and gamify what you're doing. It's like, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What's like a KPI that I can do to achieve that? All right. And then marketing, sales, pricing, and profit. First, you need to understand your ideal customer profile. That's what ICP means. Who are they? What problems they have? And the common objections that they have. And the more detail you have here, the better. So we've already talked about like you really need to understand the customer. You really need to have a clear idea of them. So you can even like write down like a paragraph, like explaining like who your key customer is. Even give them a name. Like you might have a few ICPs. So just like be really clear. Like for Arinallo, we have like basically 2 or maybe 3 ICPs. It's the mum that buys stuff, or it's the gifter who's buying stuff for the mum, right? So you approach these two differently, and that's why you need to understand what ICPs you have, because you would approach them, you would market to them differently. You might even price to them differently, right? It depends who you're selling to, right? Okay. Second, you got to understand your profit, which means you have to understand your expenses, your true expenses, which is filament, labor, huge one here. Like this gets left off all the time. You need to calculate your labor and then other parts that you add into your product, like screws and bolts and whatever it is, glue, whatever. Electricity, which isn't that big unless you're doing a lot of big prints. I mean, electricity's gone up a lot here in Melbourne anyway, so probably is definitely worth having in there. And then printer depreciation, which is usually the slightly bigger one than electricity. If you pay a few $1,000s for your printer, it's not going to last forever, especially if you're not maintaining it, which you need to be doing. But yeah, it's not going to last forever. So every time you put on a print, you're just eating into that life. So you need to like pay for that eventually. So yeah, making sure that your printer depreciation is calculated for. And then even packaging and tax, etc. It's like you need to have everything in there. You might even have a discount code on your website the first time people are buying. So you need to like have that in there as well, because people might use that code. So that just takes away from your revenue. So those are your true expenses. Now we do have a calculator in the school community. I think it's pinned right now as a post, but if you look up like profit calculator, you should be able to find it. Jeremy made a software to help you do this and help you understand it. You can also like make your own calculator, so long as you like have all these expenses in there. Whew, okay. Marketing and sales. Got a few minutes. The difference, marketing, we are focusing on attracting new people in, and then sales is we're focusing on actually selling them the product. So marketing, think of it like, say, a Coca-Cola ad. They're just trying to like generally give you the vibe that Coca-Cola is for summer and you're going to have a good time if you drink it. And then the sale is when you walk past a vending machine and then you might make a purchase, right? That's the sales part of it. So marketing is like about awareness and like brand building, and then sales is about let's make the sale, let's make the transaction. And the 2 main ways to sell. We can sell warm or cold. So you can sell to people that you don't know, and then you can sell to one person or many. Now let me know in the chat, like what do you guys who do you guys sell to? Is it like people you don't know, so cold, and you sell to many people? So like you might have a website where you sell to people that you don't know. So we advertise here at Arianalo. So like we're trying to sell to people that we don't know. So it's cold to many. But we also sell warm to one when we go to like an event, or like when we might be talking to someone. So you've got Facebook Marketplace, but mostly return customers. Oh, that's amazing, Joe. Yeah, mostly return customers. That's a really good sign. So yeah, Facebook Marketplace is, I guess, cold to many, or maybe slightly warm, because I guess you have that local kind of vibe with Facebook Marketplace. If you're a cafe in the area and people walk past you and then drop in, like you're both locals, if that makes sense, that's slightly warm. That's good. The best, most trustworthy way that you're going to like win people over is warm to one. Like when you're directly talking to someone, you can like really easily communicate what you do and like figure out any objections they have. So warm to one is always going to be the easiest way to start off with. Okay, so that's where people need to start. But this is like the general matrix. The further you get to cold to many, that becomes hard. But here you can be creative. So you can do direct selling, in-person markets, trade shows, pop-ups, vending machines. Or you could go online, websites, marketplaces, social media, email and SMS. You can do partnerships with businesses, retail stores, affiliates, influencers, resellers, network effects, which is basically like once you get a lead or a customer, like you get referrals, community, Facebook groups, packaging inserts. So like putting something in the packaging, so when your customer opens it, they can go on to the next thing or refer someone else or something like that. Loyalty programs, digital and scalable. So like STL files, you can sell them, designs, licensed designs. You can do Patreons and memberships and services and stuff like that. Crowdfunding. There's so many ways that you could do this. You could get really creative. The thing that I'm giving with this slide is you don't just need to just print a product and then sell it. Like there's so many other ways that you can like do this. Okay. That's the inspiration here. So just be creative here. And then offer type. So I realize that we're going a bit over time here, but I'll just quickly finish off. So yeah, there's two main types of products that you have: commodity versus value-based products. Okay. Which one is toilet paper? Commodity or value-based? Do you really care like how, I mean, maybe to some degree you care about how comfortable the toilet paper is, but for the most part, you're just going to, well, at least for me, just pick the cheapest one. Unless there's something that like changes your mind about that. So there's a toilet paper here called Who Gives a Crap, I think. And like they have no plastic in their packaging, which means that they're trying to make it so it's less like a commodity. You don't just compare it off price, and you value it for like other things, like other values, which is in this case, environmental impact. So for the most part, toilet paper is a commodity, and say even like toothpaste, you just buy just buy the cheapest one, unless something changes your mind. And you want to like increasingly push people for 3D printing stuff, what you're doing, you want to push people towards a value-based pricing because you can increase your prices and provide more value there. Okay. That is a really important point that I've just made. So if your product is just compared to a sea of other products, you need to figure out a way to differentiate yourself and show people that there's more value in what you do. So I know for Arianalo, a lot of our social media is quite personal, like it's us and the family, and people love supporting that. So that's where the value, gets added in there, supporting a local business rather than like a big company that just imports and sells products. And then pricing strategies. So we have value-based pricing, which is we're just going to charge based on the value that customer has, right? So if I can charge more and they'll keep paying, then I keep doing that. And I've seen some like crazy examples of this. Like, you just have to like think of like certain brands like, Ferrari, Louis Vuitton or whatever, like where you're paying like clearly for like the brand. So that's the idea here, is that we're trying to increase that perception of value. And that's really all that we have, is that perception. Then you got cost-based pricing. So just take your cost, multiply it by 4 or 5, which if you multiply it by 5, you get an 80% gross profit margin. So that's cost-based pricing. And then comparison pricing. So if you price based off your like competitors or like what other options that person has. So if you're selling something that's on Etsy that a lot of other people sell, and people find your stuff on Etsy, they're probably going to compare it to other people's prices on there. So comparison pricing does come into it there. Whereas if you sell on your own website, not as much, because they're just on your website. They're not comparing it necessarily to anything else unless they have that in their mind. So these are kind of the 3 methods. You got to figure out which one you do. And then, at least understand your gross profit margin. And if it's not 70%, you want to go for like 80% ideally. So 5 times your cost, then you want to be seeing, hey, how can I add more value or perceived value to that customer? Okay. And then sales tactics, make it stupid easy. So you got to think Amazon, make it really easy to sell your stuff, make it really easy to buy it. There's a few others I'm going to skip over there. Actually, oh no, we've got a minute left. This is the last slide. Okay. The anchoring effect. Have you ever been to Bunnings or like a hardware store and you see like, you go, I'm going to buy a drill, and you see like a really cheap one, then like a medium one, and then an expensive one that's like a bit above it. Like this is called anchoring. So you basically, people don't want to be on the extremes when they're buying things a lot of the time. Some people do, but for the most part, you want to pick like a reasonable choice. And when you see 3 options, cheap, middle, and then premium, you end up going for the middle one. You feel more comfortable in that decision. That's called anchoring. It's like you have this like bias, like to go towards the middle, or like whatever the number is that you like first saw, that's going to like anchor you to like that price point. So like a classic example of this is like, oh, it was $99, but now it's $79. I'm saving this. The $99 had nothing to do with like the price that you're buying it from, but because you saw $99 and then it's discounted to $79, you're already thinking like, I'm saving $20, right? So that's kind of the idea with anchoring. Bundling and upsells, to sell more of, like in a bundle, curate a bundle, you're always going to be able to sell more. So if you're selling like, say, toys or figurines or something like that, how about you like create a set of it, right? A set. And maybe they do get a discount in that set, but you also make a bigger sale. So that's a lot better for you. Upsells, also a great way of like creating more sales. Scarcity. So like if you do have stock, like put your stock number in like the website, or say like limited time only, if it is limited time only. So think of ways that you can like make it seem like that is going to like run out. I think this is why like big, like when we did Black Friday, we did like a 40 or 50% off sale one time. And it was like a short sale. It only happened over like 3 days. And I think we made like revenue. So I think it was like 15 grand over those few days. But that sale's only lasting a certain amount of time. And that's why people like need to react to it quickly. So just like coming up with like ways of creating a more scarce, and you don't want to lie here. You can't lie here. You just have to like be honest. But like, you know, if it's a limited color or limited option, or I'm only going to sell it for a certain amount of time, limited stock, whatever, there's like a few strategies. So have a look. Promotions, so just getting more for the same amount or for less, like the discounts and or free products when you buy XYZ. Urgency, so you want to do things quickly. That's what I was talking about there. Okay, that's it. Do you want to learn more? Well, if you haven't seen our free in this school community, so school community, there'll be a link in the bio or the description. Then you can see that there's a free business course in there. I go into a bit more detail into some of this, but that will just help you get a more clear idea, give you a bit more direction if you like really want to get serious with this. And then we also work, you actually can also work with us here at 3D Printing Gear. We help a lot of businesses. I think the last time we checked, we've got over 40,000 customers in our CRM. But yeah, you can contact us through the school community or the 3D Printing Gear website if you want to get in touch. This is the classroom here. This was the free business course that I was talking about. This is the community tab that you can post to. I really encourage everyone to connect with people in their space and other people that are trying to do the same things. It's awesome to have this community. Really, really is great to see conversations happening here. And then we've got like events and stuff that we do. We've just, we release all these fun events. So like we've got these Q&As, we've got like a design course, which actually I'm doing today, one of the first ones with a live demo. On Saturdays, we've got like boot camps, which we do. Those are in person here in Melbourne, but we'll be doing a lot more webinar kind of style events and like events online as well. We've even started doing after school courses for students and stuff like that. So, I mean, if there's something that you want to learn, like I think in 3D printing, we are the people here, at least in Australia, to help do it. And of course, you know, these slicing designing courses you can do from anywhere in the world. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. I love that we got to hang out today, honestly. Like I really love teaching and 3D printing. So this kind of, makes me quite happy to do this. So I hope that you can go print in the future. And whatever you do, I'd love to help out or be a part of it, or even just know about it in some way. So if you do have wins and you want to just share what you've been doing and working on, I'd love to see about it in the community tab. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Actually, give me a question if you got one.
I got a question.
Go for it.
On your page at Printing Gear, when it has the at the very bottom, like calculator, we can like see the pricing.
Yep.
Every time I try to submit one of my, files from Manville onto it, even I have like one thing there, it would successfully submit it to it, but
It's
it
this
would
calculator
fail.
here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that. Every time I try to upload a file to it, it would fail. Hold on, I'll show you an image on my screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why.
Which
Yeah, it worked last time I
it,
used it.
it would show this.
You're
Wait, hold
welcome,
on, hold on, hold on.
Bennett. Thank you, Sadman.
Right.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Let's have a look. Pin for everyone. Will that work? Oh no, maybe I'll just stop sharing my screen. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll figure it out. The other thing that you can do is profit calculator. Is go here. So look up the product profit calculator, and then I've got an Excel document there.
We don't see it. We only see you. We don't see your
Oh,
screen.
sorry. Yeah. So search. So I've got. I think it's this post here, product profit calculator. Yeah. So you can look up this post, or I think there's another one here that I also sent. But basically, you got the product profit calculator. Okay. So that's an Excel one. So that'll be way easier to kind of use in terms of like if you've got bugs or anything. Like there should be no bugs in here. Yeah. So jump on that. I've got a quick question from Sadman. Quick question: what was the first big challenge you faced when you set up your business? What was your key takeaway? Yeah, big challenge. I think for me, it was like organizing everything and like getting kind of serious with the whole profit, like basically charging more. Is what I want to say. It's yeah, it's really. I think it took me a while to like really value what I do, and especially when you look at some of the pricing that you would, oh, it only cost me like 20, 30 cents to like print this. But then you don't see like all those other costs behind it. So basically, for me, I think it was, yeah, figuring out, okay, I'm worth this much or I'm worth more that I'm doing. Let me charge for that. Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to have something different here, but that was, yeah, for me, a big one. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. Well, if that's all, I will catch you guys next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Yeah, if you've got any questions in the community, just post them there. We'd love to see some wins from you guys, when they come through, and we'll catch you next time. See you guys.